Alexa, what day is it?
Today is Tuesday, April 24th.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 8:43 a.m.
Alexa, turn on light one. Hi, Linton here again. We just on talk
I
20
don't know that one.
on talk 26 we found that methylation appears
I'm not
to
sure.
affect fertility. Oh, robot helpers working overtime now. Okay, so of those chemicals, what's most what's the what's the one with the greatest effect? So it seemed like folic acid is the way place to start. Uh, does folic acid alone make enough change in the degree of methylation of DNA in the critical areas um, that we can detect it? All right, again, totally at sea, but so what concentration of folic acid are you talking about? And um, there's only one. Okay, what did I have planned? You know, so far I've been saying again and again that minus rare disasters like really horrible famines and wars and plagues, um, kinship determines fertility over a span of generations, and nothing else does. Well, you have to change that now. Methylation has an effect, and you can give chemicals, at least to fruit flies, that affect fertility without damaging the fruit flies. This is following ordinary pathways. Okay, so would folic acid alone have an effect? The cocktail of chemicals does. Um, uh, Doing the same study we just did with folic acid would have taken another 5 years. Not sure I've got many of them left. So there's only one concentration of folic acid that's really important. Women who are pregnant or may become pregnant are advised to take folic acid regularly. Um, uh, yeah, and the pressure to do that is enormous because sometimes, rarely, there's a condition. It's called neural tube defects. When you remember the zygote, it the cell divides kind of hollows out and forms a sphere. Okay, once that area of that sphere gets a little thick, and that splits up into three little layers. The rest of the what was the zygote of the marilla, the rest of this little ball turns into like placenta and umbilical cord to support the pregnancy. Those three little layers, those are the those are what's going to go on and pay taxes someday. And the outermost level, the ectoderm, rolls up into a tube. So a neural tube defect occurs um, if that little rolling up doesn't happen properly. Obviously, if this is going to happen, it happens very early. There's a lot to the brain other than like a soda straw. But a neural tube defect can have consequences for the adult. You may have something called a pilonidal cyst, just a little dot on the small of the back, which unfortunately also communicates with the central nervous system through a little fistula. Um, that's a minimal neural tube defect, or the neural tube can fail to roll up from the ectoderm throughout its length, and I don't even talk about what that is, but let's say it's just very, very bad. All right, so about half of those disasters can be prevented by giving a lot of folic acid to pregnant women. Um, now, folic acid is not a natural food. Um, uh, Folate occurs in natural food. So, if an apple contains 5 micrograms of folate, that's the equivalent, they say, of 3 micrograms of folic acid. So, if you eat a ripe apple every day, back when I was going to medical school, they suspected none of this. If a patient came in and you say, "What's your diet?" Well, I eat nothing but boiled veggies and rice, and occasionally beans. You say, "Well, that's pretty good. What about fresh fruits and veggies?" I eat a fresh ripe apple every day. You'd probably say, "Okay, well, that's okay. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about folate deficiency." That's what we'd have said, right or wrong. So what I'm saying here is that there's a question, and this needs to be studied further. This is science. This is research. This is not advice. Okay. Another possible result of not enough folate, um, uh, can lead to a lethal anemia, because you need the folate or the folic acid effect in order for DNA to replicate. Currently, in this day and age, we give patients hundreds of micrograms of folic acid a day. Please do not eat 100 fresh red juicy apples a day. First off, physically I don't think you could do it. And besides, there's enough cyanide in there somewhere to kill you. They say, "Oh, folate can't get overdosed on folic acid because it's water soluble. It washes right out. Ta-da, we can use massive doses." Yeah, right. I think cyanide is water soluble too. And yeah, it won't accumulate. Still has an effect. All right, so we give really big doses of folic acid to women, all women who could potentially become pregnant. And the pressure is very strong because the threat of a disastrous neural tube defect that could had an even chance of not having happened if she had taken no supplements at all compared to taking these big supplements. That's very scary. So there you go. So the question is, what concentration of folic acid we're going to test on the flies? We'll test the dose we give women. Well, a woman eats a lot more than a fruit fly, and her metabolic needs are different. Women are warm-blooded. Fruit flies are not. Fruit flies fly. Women do not. Okay. So what we did was set up the formula for flies and add in enough in the water, added enough folic acid so that the amount of folic acid per kilocalorie of diet was the same. Okay, so if a fruit fly eats, enough, this little teeny little bit of food, and it's sufficient for his metabolic needs, and a woman eats exactly the same food, and the fruit flies wouldn't mind, take a nice wholesome diet, run it through a blender, spoon it, put it in the fridge and spoon it out and give it to the fruit flies. They'll be just as happy with it. Haven't tried that. The But I'm pretty sure it would work. So a woman gets an 1,800 calorie diet, and that's a certain number of, and then she gets, the recommended dose of folic acid in that. So you just basically get 1,800 kilocalories of your starch you're feeding these flies, plus some uh, uh, yeast, which gives them some extra stuff. Okay, and you put it in, so you get the same dose in 1,800 kilocalories of the fly food to match the 1,800 kilocalories of diet that a woman takes. Um, I won't give you the actual number of pills I used. Figure it out for yourself. If you want to run the experiment, which I really hope you do, um, uh, you figure out what you think the right dose is to match with a woman. You have to look up some numbers. Okay, and so ordinary standard fruit fly husbandry, same as mouse husbandry. You put 4 males and 4 females, and let them mate. Well, so we did that and put them in a vial, followed them for 2 weeks. Around 11 or 12 days into the 2 weeks, they begin to come out of their pupae. They very rapidly eat enough so that they don't need to eat anymore to develop, and then they just crawl up on the side of the vial and sit there until they develop into the adult form. Um, so I was taking 3 control vials which had no added folic acid, and 3 experimentals which had added folic acid. And from the day the adults begin to emerge, you shake the bottles out. Okay, shake too hard, and the food tumbles out um, with the flies. Here, let me show you. All right, think I got it here. Just give me a moment. No, I didn't. Okay. If you remember the previous lecture, there was that petri dish, there was a little fleck of blue. Well, that was food. If you shake the bottle hard, the food flies out, buries flies alive, kills them, makes a mess of things. So you don't want to shake it too hard. You don't shake it hard enough, you don't get all the flies. So you kind of compromise. You get a kind of a touch. Okay, we're shaking it, but not really getting. It's like shaking ketchup out of a bottle. You shake the bottle. They're in squeeze bottles now, isn't it? Anyway, and like a ketchup bottle, you take your vial and you tap it on the side, and that'll shake the flies out more effectively. It will also dump food on top of the flies you're trying to use, and that destroys your experiment. So you can't make a perfect separation. Do the best you can, but you got 3 tries on the control and 3 tries on the experimental. And then you add you count the flies in the vial. It's the easiest way to do it. Shake them out. Next day, count what has come out. Shake them out, and by the end of 2 weeks, you say, okay, we're going to add up all the flies that came out of all the vials, control, experimental, and then we graph them. And this is what we get. The top line, that's the normal control. Now, of course, you'd think, oh, well, why did that change? Well, it changed because we the flies were not at perfect equilibrium. All right, we hadn't been doing that 4 males, 4 females every generation. All right, so after the 2 weeks, right, you pull the youngest 4 males and 4 females you can find, start a new generation. Well, that's kind of there's a reason they do that. If you do that and follow them for a while, you find that the fertility is going up. That's the top line. It has nothing to do with methylation. Well, of course it does. What you're doing is you're restoring them to an ideal equivalent to kinship. Um, but the reason they do that in when you're raising animals is you want to have you want to have a lot of animals. So you mate 4 males with 4 females every generation, and bingo, up goes your fertility. That's good if you're raising horses or chickens. Yeah, and then there's the red line. You got that? Do you see the red line? Okay. The black, that line is higher than that line. That's all you need to know. This is higher than that. This is the normal control. This is identical circumstances. The original 4 females and 4 males were taken out of the same bottle a few weeks before this. And so they're as alike as you can get them. And that's the normal, and that is receiving the amount of folic acid that is recommended for women, corrected for the fact that women's total caloric intake is different. Now, yeah, every little break in the line there, that means, all right, we did a count and then we started a new bottle and there were found counts. All right, there he goes. All right, please somebody repeat this. I am one person and I do not have credentials. I have published a paper. It took a while, but the paper was published in the a journal called African Entomology because I was working insects. They were kind enough to take me on more or less as a guest. I don't live in Africa, but I won't even tell you how hard they worked to get the thing into shape. Then I submitted the paper about, remember the methylation? I submitted that to Science, and they said, well, we can't touch that. But why don't you put it on a preprint server? So I did. All right, so I went from a journal that's not seen much to a preprint server that doesn't even have any paper behind it. And then when I got to this stuff, I put this together. Makes pretty good sense to me, and it looks like it's important to me. They wouldn't even accept it at the preprint server. They said, no, we don't think you... I submitted it first. It was rejected. I turned to the preprint server. They say, no, we don't think you're seriously planning to publish this. So we're going to recommend another place that's called Figshare. And the fig leaf has a certain significance in classical art, or the study thereof. So there, the results are sitting on Figshare. Scientific committee won't even talk about this. So go do it yourself. Try it. Look up the numbers. Figure out how much folic acid you want to make it to bring it up to the same number of the recommended dose of folic acid. uh, per 1,800 kilocalories, and you it'll take that much lab space, right? You only got 6 little bottles and a place to, stir up your mixtures. The folic acid dissolves completely. It's real easy. Keep it in the fridge, but don't let anybody drink it. The cost of the flies, it's a few dollars. If, like me, your eyes aren't the best in the world, and you need to tell what a male and female fly are like, Carolina Biological Supply is one of the companies that can give you the stuff. They sell you some flies. They'll give you a buck on how to raise them, and how to tell males from females. I use a dissecting microscope. It's just about the most expensive way to go. Modern equipment, you could probably get away with an electronic microscope, digital thingy that cost a lot less. I don't know. I have my routines. Figure out what you want to do with your own, and yeah, do it. And you know what? If if we have 1,000 even rank amateurs who say, "Look, I did this and I got results of a high school science project," this is like, oh, let's sprout some beans and see whether they turn toward the sunlight. I mean, it's that simple. Um, uh, so um, it looks like the folic acid is reducing fertility. Well, why should it? Well, it's adding some extra methyl groups. The new methyl groups don't match up, so you're increasing the difference between this pattern of methyl groups and that pattern of methyl groups, and it's like they're less related. Less related, less fertile. That's what's going on, I think. Um, so, yeah, talk to your politicians, talk to your scientists, talk to your teachers. Say, hey, it, we need to do this. This is important. If we are reducing women's fertility, if we don't know anything about women at this point, all we know is about fruit flies. Um, uh, the Yeah, what did that say? You got to magnify the flies to see which sex is which. Yeah, we know about fruit flies. All right, we would if enough people did this. Um, and then, can you extend that to women? No, you would dream of that. You'd go on to mice, and then it becomes time for people to say, well, what's the minimum dose of folic acid we can give? We know what the maximum is, and so we just went straight to the maximum because you get enough of that stuff. It's poisonous. So what's the minimum? How can we avoid artificially increasing the effective distance between a couple by giving them the folic acid? But we're a long way from asking that question. Right now, do other people get what I keep? Yeah, that's the important thing. Okay, well, that will do it. I noticed that we have gone from like purely theoretical considerations through effect on animals, through effect on people, through effect on societies, and now we've gotten it down to the molecular level. So if you followed it this far, you deserve to be congratulated. Alexa, turn off light 1.